I never pictured myself as the type to lead a rebellion, but one political science class left me with no choice. This was more than a decade ago when I went back to finish my bachelor's degree. I was what they call a non-traditional student, older than most of my classmates, and a lot less willing to quietly accept nonsense. The course itself was nothing unusual. It was a required 3,000-level political science class, the kind you just had to grind through to get your degree, but the professor running it had some unusual ideas. Every single class began with a quiz over the assigned reading. That alone wasn't too strange. The twist was how he graded them. The correct answer wasn't based on fact. It was based on whatever the majority of students chose. If 20 students picked answer A, then A became correct, even if it was completely wrong. The rest of us, even if we had the right answer, were marked wrong. At first, I thought maybe he was experimenting with the wisdom of crowds, the idea that if you ask enough people, the collective answer will usually be close to the truth. But in practice, it was a disaster. 30 students in one room wasn't a big enough sample size. If the question was tricky or worded in a confusing way, the whole group could steer the answer in the wrong direction. That meant my grade wasn't tied to what I knew. It was tied to whether I could predict the collective confusion of a room full of undergraduates. I could study hard, know the material cold, and still fail if most of the class clung to a common misconception. To me, that was unacceptable. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This system didn't reward learning. It rewarded conformity, and I wasn't about to let my GPA depend on what 30 half-asleep students guessed was right. So I came up with a plan. If the professor's game was about following the majority, then all we had to do was become the majority. If enough of us coordinated, we could guarantee ourselves perfect scores. The actual facts didn't matter. Power was in numbers. It was political science in action. The next class, I stood by the door and laid out my idea. For every question, we're picking the first option, I told them. If it's multiple choice, we choose A. If it's true or false, we choose true. If we all agree, we'll all get perfect scores. But if you go against us, your answer will be wrong no matter what. Most of them were on board immediately. The choice was obvious. Join the group and guarantee success, or stand alone and fail. That day, we flipped the script. From the first question onward, every student answered exactly the same. The professor caught on quickly. He paused the quiz, had us retake it, and this time graded us on factual correctness. We'd forced his hand, but I wasn't finished. The following class, we did it again. Unified answers, no hesitation. And once again, the professor had to adapt. That day, he announced a new policy. From now on, 2 answers would earn full credit. The factually correct one, and whatever the majority selected. And that, to me, was a victory. Now I could focus on learning and answering correctly without being punished if the group got it wrong. And if I made the same mistake everyone else did, I still got credit. Instead of blind conformity, it became a real discussion point. Why did so many of us get it wrong? And what could we learn from it? By the end of the semester, I had an A in the class. The professor never singled me out as the one who organized the rebellion, though later on I ended up working with him in grad school. We actually got along well, almost as if none of it had ever happened. But the funny thing is, I still wonder whether that was his plan all along. Maybe he really did want us to see the flaws in the system. Maybe he wanted to teach us about the tyranny of the majority, or about grassroots organizing, or even game theory. If that was his goal, it worked. Because without ever meaning to, he turned me into a leader. I didn't want to run a campaign, but I did. I built a coalition, overthrew a flawed system, and forced a new arrangement that valued both truth and majority rule. It was, in a way, the perfect political science lesson. And if there was one thing I walked away with, it was this. Sometimes the best way to beat a broken system is to use its own rules against it.